Hi, I'm Brin from bigender.net. I didn't think I was going to get another video in 2010, but I was able to arrange it to record one. I wanted to follow up on something from my last video, where I wasn't sure about presentation at Christmas time with my family. And then talk a little bit about something called the spotlight effect, which I think ties in with that a little bit. So, my last video I said that I had a dilemma about, how I was going to show up to family dinner, because I am trying to be more out this year, and I did have my kids, and it was sort of, a tough call for me. So I decided to just go, full out and go how I felt comfortable that day. So it started with breakfast. My dad and my sisters and brother and his wife and their son came over to have breakfast with me and my girlfriend and my daughters and my roommate for Christmas morning, and then we did gifts, and after that we were heading over to my aunt's house for dinner. So when they arrived, I was wearing a brown hoodie sweater, and then as I was in the kitchen cooking, it got warm, so I took the sweater off, and I had a cami tank underneath. And in fact, I think I wore that same one in one of my first videos with the gray sweater over it that took off. Anyway, so I just wore that while I was cooking in the kitchen. And my dad had come in because I asked him to help with the biscuits and gravy because I don't do the sausage gravy the same way that he does, or as well as he does. So he come into the kitchen, and he was really sweet. He said, "Now I want you to know I respect your choices, and I had gone shopping for you, and I found something that, I thought you'd find pretty and that you might like, but I didn't really know if I should shop for P or for B." I think he didn't remember my girl's name is Brin, or didn't know it, or I think one of my sisters had told him, but he and I hadn't actually talked about it. Anyway, he said, "I didn't know if that would be okay, so I just bought you some boy stuff. I hope that's okay." And I said, that was really sweet of him. And I told him, "Dad, you can do whatever you're comfortable with, but it's all fine with me, But it was really, really sweet. And, it's nice to hear from him that he just accepts me for who I am. And he's not trying to change me or, direct my life anyway. He just wants me to be happy. But as he started to say that, as he said, "I respect your choices," he kind of stammered and stuttered a bit, because that was the first time I could actually see when it happened. He looked and saw me in my tank top, and there's no way not to see that I have breasts now. That's my body shape. I never actually told him that I was on hormones. I think maybe it's possible that he could have seen or been curious about the way that I looked before, but it hadn't really come up. And he didn't ask me anything. But it was obvious now. And he just kind of went right past it and didn't actually stop and ask or anything like that, but he could see. And, bless him, he just took it as the new me, that's the map of me now. And we had a really lovely breakfast and opened presents, and everything was great. And then we all headed out to my aunt's house for dinner. And before we left, I put on a black sweater, black turtleneck, and it was, it fit. It was fitted. So, again, you couldn't help but notice that I had breasts, and that my body shape isn't, male typical, I guess. And I put on eyeliner and mascara, actually very similar to what I'm wearing right now. And I had my hair, I had my hair back like I do for boy style. But it actually didn't last very long because one of my daughters needed it for needed the ponytail I was wearing for dinner, so that she didn't drag her hair through the prime rib or whatever. So then my hair was down, and it was actually down like this for the entirety of the rest of the night, and nobody actually said anything. This is the most feminine I've ever looked in front of my family, with a slight exception of one family breakfast where I also had eyeliner and fingernail polish, I think. I didn't paint my nails for Christmas. I gotta stop playing with my hair. Anyway, but everybody was perfectly fine, perfectly accepting. No one really commented on it, but I don't think anyone treated it as anything that was worthy of comment. It just was me and me being happy. And I've really tried this last 6 months or so to be more out and transparent. And I haven't actually sat down and had conversations with my family members about hormones and transition and being by gender. And for the most part, I've really just played the boy part and not acknowledged the girl part. It's always been there as something that's been known and acknowledged, but not anything that's actually been seen. So, I changed that at Christmas. It was a small portion of my family. It was my aunt and uncle, their 3 of their 4 boys, one of my uncle's girlfriends, my dad, and my sisters weren't there. My dad, my brother, and sister-in-law, and my roommate and my girlfriend. By the way, this shirt comes from my girlfriend. It was really cute. This was one of my Christmas presents. So, yay, thank geek. And it was really nice having my girlfriend and my roommate there because they've really stood by me and been so supportive of everything that I've done along the way to become who I am. That having them in my corner at my family event, where everything was new to them and sort of old hat to those two, to my roommate and my girlfriend, gave me a rock to hold on to in the event that things did get weird. But it really was fine. We talked and laughed and told the same stories that get told at every family gathering, and played some cards, and just really had a good time. So yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better Christmas. That was exactly what I could hope for. I love big family events. Like I said, it wasn't everybody, but there's probably 25 or so people who didn't show or had their own Christmases and weren't going to be there. But this was a very important contingent of my family, people that I respect and love very much. So I feel a lot more confident about, expressing myself in whatever way I feel later on. And the kids didn't bat an eye, actually. I think they've just sort of come to accept that Dad looks like a girl a lot. I hope that they're okay with it. They don't talk about it. I try to ask, but they just sort of dodge. I don't know. Anyway, so that sort of brings me into something I want to talk about. There's a blog called You Are Not So Smart. It's at youarenotsosmart.com. And you should look up the article entitled The Spotlight Effect. This is something I'd read a little while back, and it really resonated with me. So I'm going to read a little bit from the beginning of it. And the way he always constructs his blog posts is there's a misconception, and then a truth, and then, a lot more explanation below it. And it's sort of sciencey, but, it's really cool. It busts a lot of, sort of long-held misconceptions or widely held misconceptions. So this one's called The Spotlight Effect. The misconception: when you are around others, you feel as if everyone is noticing every aspect of your appearance and behavior. The truth: people devote little attention to you unless prompted to. So you spill a drink at a party. You get mustard stain on your shirt. You are having the mother of all bad hair days. Oh no, what will people think? Chances are they won't think anything. Most people won't notice at all, and if they do, they'll probably disregard and forget your imperfections and faux pas within seconds. When in a group setting or in a public setting, you think every little nuance of your behavior is under scrutiny by everyone else. You can't help but be the center of your universe, and you find it difficult to gauge just how much other people are paying attention to you, since you are paying attention to you all the time. You tend to overestimate. You are not so smart when it comes to dealing with crowds because you are too egocentric. Fortunately, everyone else is just as egocentric, and they are just as convinced they are being scrutinized. It goes on from there, and it's actually really very interesting, and I'll link the article in the show notes, or the video notes, or whatever, down there. And it's something that I encountered when I first started going out as a woman. I was convinced that every eye in every restaurant and bar and grocery store was trained on me and judging me and seeing this, obviously a boy in a dress, and how not ladylike or not how feminine, how unfeminine he is and everything else. And it took me a while to realize that people don't care. People aren't watching me. People couldn't give a rat's ass what I look like. For the most part, there are people who, of course, are going to pay too much attention to something that's not their business, or make it clear that you're not fooling anyone. But for the most part, the spotlight effect is in effect. Oh, that was a bad one. Bad sentence. Anyway, so you have to take that into account. People don't care. People aren't watching you. They don't know. They don't know who you are. They're not examining every little facet of you for the right amount of masculinity or femininity or whatever else. You're just another face in a sea of faces, or more accurately, you're just a body in a sea of bodies. They're not going to take the time out of their day to stop focusing on themselves long enough to focus on you and everything you're nervous about. So for those of you who are starting out on the real life experience, or going out for the first time, or still nervous after hours and hours, read this article and really take it to heart. No one's watching you the way that you think that you're being watched, because the only one watching you that way is you. Even your friends, especially your friends, they know who you are. So if you're not pitch perfect on something, or you make a mistake, it's in your presentation. If you make a mistake in your presentation, I guess, chances are, if they take any note of it at all, it's gone. And it'll pass. They won't remember it, 2 days from now. But it's just like anything else. If you spill your drink at the table, it happens. But people aren't going to remember it forever. So there's another one called The Illusion of Transparency, which basically says that you always feel like everyone can see right into your soul and know how you're feeling right at every minute, especially when you're nervous or agitated. For the most part, people hide it very well. No one can actually see inside your head. The only reason you know that that's how you feel is because you're the one feeling it. And it's something that inhibits people from public speaking. They feel like everyone can see just how nervous they are. But the fact is, most people are probably bored. It's not anything personal. They're listening to your speech, or they're, listening to your conversation, but they can't see just how terrified you are, or how excited. Well, maybe sometimes they can see how excited you are because it gets somewhat obnoxious sometimes. I don't know. I know it does when I do. But the spotlight effect and the illusion of transparency, basically, when you learn about them, you realize that you're just a person like everybody else, and no one is paying any more attention to you than you are to everybody else that you've ever encountered out in public. So that's all I had. I hope you all had a happy holiday. Send me responses, videos, questions, and comments, etc., either down here on the comment stuff, send me a note in the email, or brainitbygender.net. Come to the forum.